Welcome back, everyone. It's great to have you here for part 2 of our deep dive into the world of Tara.
It's great to be back.
Last time, we explored Tara as this amazing force, this energy that helps us get past all kinds of obstacles.
Right, those hurdles on the path to enlightenment.
But there was one aspect that a lot of you were really curious about.
Yeah, Matara.
Exactly, Matara. This specific emanation of Tara that's all about navigating difficult times.
Especially those times that, are predicted to be pretty challenging.
So today we're diving deep into how we can connect with Matara's power, the kind of blessings she offers.
And the ways we can actually invite her guidance into our lives.
I'm excited to learn more. What makes Matara such a powerful force, especially for those tough times you mentioned?
Well, one of the key things about Matara is she embodies this incredible strength and resilience.
With a warrior.
Exactly. Like a divine warrior, ready to help her devotees face anything that comes their way.
So she's like our spiritual bodyguard.
Yeah, you could say that.
Hmm.
Especially as we head into these challenging times, when we're dealing with karmic burning.
Karmic burning, what's that?
It's like this period where all our past actions, good and bad, start to ripen, to come to fruition.
Okay, so it's like a cosmic reckoning.
Exactly. And that's when things can feel pretty chaotic, pretty intense.
And that's where Matara comes in, to help us navigate all that chaos.
Exactly. She acts as this guide, almost like the stars guiding sailors through a stormy sea.
I love that analogy. It makes her role so clear.
Yeah.
Speaking of guidance, you mentioned a story about the sage Vasishta and his experience with Matara.
Oh, yes. The story of Rishi Vasishta. It really shows just how important it is to approach Matara with the right understanding.
So there's a right way and a wrong way.
You could say that. See, Vasishta initially tried to connect with Matara using the methods he was familiar with,
Yeah.
and he wasn't having any luck. He even started to question her power.
Uh-oh. I bet that didn't go over well.
It didn't. In fact, Lord Brahma himself appeared to Vasishta.
Drama.
And he basically told Vasishta, hey, your methods are all wrong. Then he guided Vasishta to a specific lineage where he learned the correct way to worship Matara.
So it's not just about chanting any mantra or performing any old ritual. There's a specific way to do it.
Exactly. One of the key things Vasishta learned was the Panchakshari mantra, this really potent 5-syllabled mantra used to invoke Matara.
Oh, right. You mentioned that earlier. And there were other specific practices, too.
Absolutely. Offerings, visualizations, certain ways of approaching her energy.
So it's like there's a whole language to it.
Precisely. And this is where her connection to Jupiter or Brihaspati comes in.
Jupiter. The planet. What does it have to do with Matara?
Well, Jupiter is the planet of wisdom, guidance, and expansion.
Okay. I'm starting to see the connection.
Matara's association with Jupiter shows that she's all about illuminating our path, helping us make those wise choices.
Especially when it comes to knowledge and learning, right?
Exactly. So if someone's struggling in their career, their studies, or just feeling lost in life,
Connecting with Matara, maybe through practices related to Jupiter, could be really helpful.
absolutely. It's about tapping into that energy of wisdom and guidance that she embodies.
I love that. So we've got this divine warrior guiding us through rough waters, shining a light on our path.
And to understand her even better, let's take a look at her iconography.
Oh, yes. Her imagery is always so striking. What's the story behind it all?
Well, Matara's iconography is incredibly rich with symbolism.
For instance, she's often shown standing on a corpse or a burning pyre.
Right. That imagery might seem a bit intense,
It does.
but it's actually a powerful message about reality.
Like what?
The corpse, the pyre, they represent the impermanence of the material world.
Everything is always changing, always in flux.
Exactly. And eventually, everything dissolves.
So even in the middle of challenges, there's a deeper truth beyond those ups and downs.
Precisely. And there, standing amidst that imagery, is Matara.
So she's this force that can help us break free from that cycle of impermanence.
Exactly. She helps us detach from the material world and points us toward liberation.
That's powerful stuff. And what about the child, often shown as Shiva, sitting on her lap?
Ah, that's another key piece of the puzzle. The child represents the Jivatma, the individual soul.
The soul that's trapped in that cycle of birth and death.
Exactly. Driven by ignorance, caught up in karmic patterns.
So we're all that child, in a way, looking for guidance and liberation.
Exactly. And Matara, as the divine mother, she embraces that child.
She offers protection, guidance, that path to enlightenment.
It's a beautiful image, isn't it?
It is. And through these symbols, we can really grasp her power and the potential for transformation she offers.
Exactly. It's like a visual language telling us about her nature and her gifts.
I'm starting to see that. It's like she's this divine warrior who's also a wise guide, ready to help us navigate those stormy seas.
It truly is, and it goes even deeper than that. Her iconography often includes 4 specific objects, each with its own special meaning.
Oh, wow. This is getting really interesting. What are these objects?
Well, think of them like tools for transformation, each one representing an aspect of Matara's power. There's the scissors, or sometimes a knife,
Okay, then what?
the skull cup, the blue lotus,
Oh, yeah.
and the blood within the skull cup.
That's a lot to unpack. Let's start with the scissors or the knife. What do those symbolize?
They represent Matara's ability to cut through anything that stands in the way of our spiritual growth.
So negative influences, limiting beliefs, all that stuff that holds us back.
Exactly. She severs those ties that bind us to suffering.
Wow, that's pretty intense. It's like she's clearing a path for us
Precisely. She removes the obstacles that prevent us from seeing our true nature.
and connecting with our full potential.
Exactly. Now let's move on to that skull cup. What do you think that represents?
That's a tough one. Is it about letting go of the past?
It's definitely about purification, about cleansing
Cleansing what?
our prana, our life force. The skull cup is like a vessel that collects and transforms negative energies and karmic debris.
So it's like she's purifying our very essence, helping us get rid of all the gunk that's built up.
You got it. And this purification process is super important for reaching those higher states of consciousness.
It's like hitting the reset button, getting a fresh start.
In a way, yes. And it helps us connect with the divine.
This is fascinating. It's like each object reveals another layer of her power. What about the blue lotus? I know that's a big symbol in Eastern traditions.
It is. The blue lotus is all about Mahaprajna.
Mahaprajna.
It's a special kind of wisdom, an intuitive understanding that goes beyond our normal, rational mind.
So it's not just book smarts, it's a deeper kind of knowing.
Exactly. It's a direct experience of truth, like a flash of insight.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Okay, last one. The blood in the skull cup. I'm a little nervous about this one, to be honest.
No need to be nervous. In many spiritual traditions, blood symbolizes prana, the vital life force.
Okay, so it's not as creepy as it sounds at first.
Not at all. The blood in the skull cup just shows the purification of prana.
So we're getting rid of those karmic impurities, all that stuff from our past actions.
Exactly. This purification allows us to move forward with a lighter, clearer sense of being.
Like we're shedding our old skin and stepping into a new version of ourselves.
That's a great way to put it.
This whole iconography is amazing. It's like a visual roadmap for spiritual transformation.
It really is.
So we've talked about Matara's significance, her role as a guide, her connection to Jupiter, and her powerful imagery.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. But now I'm curious, how do we actually connect with her power?
That's a great question. And there are a couple of different approaches to connecting with Matara and receiving her blessings.
Oh, tell me more. I'm all ears.
Well, one path is known as mantra satana.
Mantra Satana. That sounds intense.
It can be. It involves chanting specific mantras to invoke Matara's energy and presence.
So it's about using sound to tune into her frequency.
You got it. And remember that Panchakshari mantra we talked about? That's often a good starting point for Matara Satana.
Right, the 5-syllabled one. Is it safe for anyone to practice?
While the Panchakshari mantra is relatively accessible, it's always important to approach mantra sadhana with respect and guidance.
Especially as you get into the more advanced practices.
Exactly. The energies can be really powerful. It's like learning any challenging skill.
You wouldn't just try to climb Mount Everest without proper training, right?
Exactly. You need the right foundation, the right guidance.
That makes sense. What about that other approach you mentioned, the simpler one?
The other approach focuses on practices that are a bit more, well, beginner-friendly.
Oh, good. So you don't have to be a spiritual master to connect with Matara.
Not at all. Even something as simple as chanting her name with sincerity and devotion can create a really powerful connection.
That's beautiful. It's like the intention is what matters most.
You could say that. There are other simple practices too.
Like what?
Lighting a lamp in her name is a beautiful way to create that sacred space.
I like that.
You can visualize her or simply sit quietly and contemplate her qualities.
Those are great ideas. I love that anyone can incorporate these practices into their lives, no matter how busy they are.
Exactly. The key is to approach Matara with that genuine desire to connect with her transformative power.
This is really inspiring. It's like she's both powerful and accessible at the same time.
That's a great way to put it.
But I have to admit, I've heard some people say that Matara is a difficult goddess. maybe even dangerous.
Yeah, I've heard that too. It's understandable why people might think that.
I mean, she's connected to cremation grounds, and she has that fierce energy.
Exactly. But it's important to approach her with understanding and respect. Those simpler practices we talked about are completely safe.
Okay, good to know. So it's about starting with practices that feel aligned with your experience level.
Precisely. As you deepen your connection, you can explore those more advanced practices, but always with the right guidance.
That makes a lot of sense. So what about those intense practices like those cremation ground rituals we mentioned? Are those ever recommended?
Cremation ground rituals definitely exist in certain tantric traditions.
But they're not for beginners.
They are absolutely not for beginners. Those require a very specific level of preparation, years of study, a really deep understanding of the energies involved.
It's like you wouldn't want to perform brain surgery without going to medical school, right?
Exactly. You need the right tools, the right knowledge, and the right guidance.
So it's about respecting the power of these traditions and not jumping in without being ready.
Exactly. Matara's power is meant to help us, not to harm us.
This has been such an enlightening deep dive. I feel like I have a much better grasp on who Matara is, her power, and the different ways to connect with her.
I'm glad to hear that. It's amazing how relevant these ancient practices still are today.
Absolutely. What are some key things you'd like to leave our listener with today?
I think the most important takeaways are Matara's accessibility, her unwavering support, and the importance of approaching her with the right understanding. Choose the path that resonates with you, and remember that even the simplest practices can be incredibly powerful.
That's a great message. Matara is this incredible force for positive change, offering guidance and protection to anyone who sincerely seeks her out. And she's not as intimidating as some people might think.
Not at all.
It's about approaching her with respect, starting where you are, and gradually deepening that connection.
And as you connect with Matara more deeply, you might find that your will gradually merges with hers.
Wow, that's a really profound thought.
This surrender can lead to incredible transformation, a life that's truly aligned with your purpose.
That's something to really think about. The idea of aligning our will with the divine, it's both exciting and a little bit scary, isn't it?
It can be, but it's also incredibly liberating.
Makes you wonder about the possibilities, doesn't it? I'm really looking forward to exploring that more in our next deep dive.
Me too. It really does make you think. That whole idea of surrendering to something bigger than ourselves.
It looks like taking a leap of faith, right? Trusting that there's this greater wisdom guiding us.
Exactly. And with Matara, it's not about being forced into anything. It's more about aligning with a higher purpose.
So we're not giving up our free will.
Not at all. It's about choosing to connect with a path that can lead to greater wisdom.
Okay, I see. So it's like recognizing that our own perspective might be a little limited.
Yeah. Our human perspective can sometimes hold us back. And by opening up to that divine guidance, we might discover possibilities we never even imagined.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. It's like letting go of control and trusting that we're being guided, even if we can't always see the whole picture.
Exactly. And that trust, that surrender is what allows those blessings to really flow into our lives. Speaking of blessings.
Oh yes, the blessings. That's what everyone wants to know about. What can we expect when we connect with Matara?
Well, as we touched on earlier, Matara's blessings are known to be quite diverse.
Diverse.
Yeah. They encompass both material and spiritual abundance.
So it's not just about like spiritual enlightenment and stuff. She helps with practical things too.
Absolutely. On a material level, she can help with financial difficulties.
That's good to know.
She can bring about unexpected gains, that sort of thing.
Wow, that's amazing.
And of course, there's the general sense of happiness and well-being that comes with her blessings.
Okay, so that covers the material side of things. What about spiritual blessings?
On a spiritual level, her blessings can bring about heightened intuition.
Intuition, that's so important.
It is. And she offers guidance during those tough times we were talking about.
Like that spiritual bodyguard we mentioned.
Exactly. She provides protection from all sorts of negative influences.
And ultimately, it's all about helping us progress towards enlightenment, right?
That's the big picture. It's about aligning with her energy and allowing her grace to flow into every aspect of our lives. You know, a lot of people might be wondering, with all this talk about Matara's power, especially that connection to cremation grounds, some might feel a bit hesitant, even a little afraid.
Oh, I can see that. It can sound pretty intense.
It can. But I want to reassure everyone that the simpler practices we've been discussing, those are completely safe and beneficial.
Okay, that's good to hear.
It's really about starting with practices that feel right for you, that match your level of understanding and experience.
So you're saying it's okay to start small?
Absolutely. As you grow and evolve in your practice, you can explore those more advanced techniques, but always with proper guidance. Speaking of advanced techniques,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on those cremation ground rituals we mentioned earlier?
To be honest, they sound a little intimidating.
I get that. They definitely exist in certain tantric traditions, but those rituals are absolutely not for beginners.
So don't just go wandering into a cremation ground looking for Matara.
Definitely not.
Sure.
Those practices require years of dedicated study, preparation, and really, really deep understanding of the energies involved.
So it's not about seeking out the most intense practice, right?
Right. It's more about choosing the practices that resonate with you, that feel right for where you are on your journey.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. It's like you wouldn't try to perform surgery without going to medical school first.
Exactly. You need the right tools, the right knowledge, and the right guidance for those advanced practices. Remember, Matara's power is vast.
Yeah.
But it's ultimately meant to guide and protect us.
This has been such an incredible conversation. I feel like I have a much deeper understanding of Matara now, her power and her blessings.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you. It's amazing how relevant these ancient teachings can be in our modern lives.
Absolutely. So to wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are some key things you want to leave our listeners with today?
Well, I'd like to emphasize Matara's accessibility. You don't need to be a spiritual master or live in a cave to connect with her. Even the simplest practices can be incredibly powerful. The key is to approach her with sincerity and devotion. Choose a path that resonates with you. And remember that her blessings are there to support you on all levels, material, spiritual, and everything in between.
That's a really beautiful message. It's like she's this incredible source of strength and support, helping us navigate through all the challenges life throws our way.
Exactly. And ultimately, she's guiding us towards that ultimate goal of enlightenment, that state of liberation and self-realization.
This has been such an eye-opening and empowering deep dive. I'm so grateful for your insights today.
My pleasure.
Matara's power is truly incredible. And you know what? I think I'm ready to take that leap of faith, to surrender to that higher guidance and see where it leads me.
That's wonderful to hear. It's a journey that can lead to incredible transformation. And remember, you don't have to go it alone. Matara's blessings are always there to guide and support you. It really is, isn't it? A journey, an adventure.
It is. It's about trusting in something bigger than ourselves.
And you know, when we talk about this surrendering to the divine will, it's important to remember that Matara's energy, it's not about forcing us to do anything.
Okay.
It's more about helping us align with that higher purpose, a path that can lead us to wisdom.
So it's not about giving up our own will. It's more about choosing to align it with something greater.
Exactly. It's like realizing that sometimes our limited human perspective, it can hold us back. By opening ourselves up to that divine guidance, we might discover possibilities we couldn't even imagine on our own.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yes.
It's like letting go of the reins a bit, trusting that we're being guided in the right direction.
Precisely. And that trust, that surrender, that's what allows Matara's blessings to truly flow into our lives.
I love that. This has been such an incredible deep dive into Matara's world. I feel like I've gained so much clarity.
I'm glad to hear that.
What are some key takeaways you'd like our listeners to remember about connecting with her?
Well, I think it's important to reiterate Matara's accessibility.
Right. She's not this distant, unapproachable deity.
Exactly. You don't need to be a spiritual master to connect with her.
So no cave dwelling required.
Not at all. Even those simple practices like chanting her name, visualizing her image, those can be so powerful. The key is approaching her with sincerity, with devotion.
So it's the intention that matters most.
Exactly. The form of the practice is less important than the heart behind it.
And as we deepen our connection with Matara, we should remember that her blessings are multifaceted.
Yes. She can help with so many things, both material and spiritual.
She's like this amazing source of strength, of support, helping us through all the ups and downs.
Exactly. And ultimately, she guides us toward that ultimate goal of enlightenment, that liberation and self-realization.
It's been such an eye-opening and empowering conversation. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of Matara.
I'm so happy to hear that. It's always wonderful to share these insights.
Well, this wraps up part 2 of our deep dive into Tara.
It's flown by.
I know. And what an incredible journey it's been. We explored this amazing world of Matara, her role as a guide, a protector, and the practical ways we can connect with her power.
So many ways to tap into her energy.
Exactly. We hope you found it as insightful and inspiring as we have. Don't forget to leave a comment below.
Yeah, let us know what resonated with you about Matara.
We love hearing your thoughts and experiences. And if you're ready to dive deeper into the world of spiritual practices and knowledge, be sure to subscribe to Tantra Quest. We've got amazing episodes coming up that you won't want to miss.
So much more to explore.
Until next time, may Matara's blessings guide and protect you on your journey.